this is the Provoked Prawn, and here I'm comparing the Razer Basilisk Ultimate with the Razer Basilisk V3 Pro. The V3 Pro is the latest generation of the Basilisk lineup, and really interesting for a number of reasons. It also has a number of spec upgrades and things that make it worth talking about, but you can see the differences between them as we go through this video. I'm going to talk about the features, specs, highlights, and what I like and don't like about both of them, and the things of interest that have changed. You'll notice when you put them together, they're very similar for a number of different reasons, but they're also quite a bit different. The Basilisk V3 Pro that you can see here, for example, offers both Bluetooth and 2.4 gigahertz wireless, so it has those two connection options, which the Basilisk Ultimate didn't. It also has upgraded specs, because it now has a 30,000 max DPI, 750 IPS, 70 Gs max acceleration, and Gen 3 optical switches. On the underside, you'll see there's also this removable cap. Now you can get a charging base station to go with this, and also a swappable cap here, which will then allow for Qi charging. So if you have a Qi charging mat or dock, you can then pop the mouse onto it with magnetic charging capabilities with a Razer dock if you buy the fancier version of the mouse. The original Basilisk Ultimate that you can see here used a slightly different system which had 2 pins in it. You'll notice also on the underside that it says 20,000 max DPI, and that's one of the things. There's quite a difference in the specs. I'll leave all the specs in the description so you can compare them, but this had 650 IPS and 50 Gs acceleration, and then max 20,000 DPI. So significant differences in the specs, but also in the features and the design. So you see the original Basilisk Ultimate was available with this little charging station, which I really liked at the time because it made for some convenient charging. You'll notice that it has 2 pins on it as well as a USB port on there, so you could plug your USB dongle into that base station and then the cable in from your PC, and then that would give you the transmission of the wireless signal. But obviously also it acted as a charging station for the mouse when you needed to charge it. So you just pick it up and you pop it on top. You have to line up the pins with the little connectors on the underside, click it into place, and then it will get some charge. Downside here is that this mouse used micro USB, which I know a lot of people hate. So you plug that into the base station, and then if you need to for any reason, you can unplug it from there and plug it into the mouse for charging purposes. You can see that both had RGB lighting, so the charging dock, but also the mouse had 14 programmable zones, including the logo, the mouse wheel, and that little bit around the edge. The Basilisk V3 Pro only has 13 zones, but you'll notice some differences, and I'll show you a demo to compare the two in terms of RGB lighting in a second. Now I'll show you this sort of size and shape, and I don't feel like they've changed very much in the design of the shape. You'll have noticed when they're side by side that they have a very similar fit, very much for right-handed gamers, with that thumb rest on the side, easy access side buttons, a very angry sort of ergonomic pointy design to it, but comfortable. Basilisk Ultimate has been one of my favourite mice for a long time. A V3 Pro equally so. Very good fit in the hand, very nice comfort overall. Now, these mice are also interesting for other reasons because they've basically have this free spinning mouse wheel option. So on the V3 Pro, you can see here that there's a button behind the mouse wheel that you can press and switch the mouse wheel from this free spinning mode to sort of the standard tactile feedback where you have the clicks every time you roll the mouse wheel. It also has left and right click in it as well, which the Basilisk Ultimate did as well. I'll show you that in a second. But what is interesting about it is that this mouse actually has some intelligent upgrades to it. So in the software, you can actually turn on a setting where when you spin the mouse wheel faster, the smooth action will then roll in, so it's a lot smoother. Now you can see the Basilisk Ultimate here, and just a quick note, you will also notice that there's a matte finish on the V3 Pro, which there isn't on the Basilisk Ultimate, so you can spy the differences between them. But also when you flip over the Ultimate, you'll notice there's a little resistance wheel on the underside. So rather than having a push button to switch between sort of free spin and that tactile response, you have this resistance wheel, so you can adjust just how much resistance you're getting from the mouse wheel. I thought that was really cool at the time, and it also allows for a bit more personalization in the sort of feedback you're getting from the mouse wheel, which I actually prefer a little bit to the V3 Pro's design, where it's either on or off in terms of the smooth action. With the Basilisk Ultimate, you have a bit more customization in sort of the level of feedback and resistance you're getting from it, which I really liked, and it was really clever. But there's a lot to be said for the system on the V3 Pro, which also gives you the flexibility to either use the hardware buttons or to program it so that when you spin it, it'll automatically switch into the smooth mode if you spin really fast, and then you just have to sort of adjust your mindset into slowing down to then get it back into the tactile mode, which is quite interesting, something to get used to, so worth bearing in mind. But it's really useful if you've got to scroll through long spreadsheets or long web pages and other things, and obviously you can apply it to gaming things as well for really spinning up some actions from there that you programmed in the Synapse software. So here you can see them side by side for the RGB lighting. From above, it looks pretty interesting when you turn the lights off, because the V3 Pro on the left has that underlighting because it's got lighting adjustment basically around the bottom of the mouse, whereas the Ultimate was more on the side. In terms of the weight difference, you can see here the two side by side. So that's the V3 Pro and then the Ultimate, which is ever so slightly lighter, which is interesting. But bear in mind that the V3 Pro has both wireless and Bluetooth capabilities, whereas the Ultimate only had wireless. So there are some hardware differences in here. And as I said, you obviously also have the upgraded switches, so optical switches and other hardware. Interestingly, though, with the RGB lighting, you also have a difference in hour usage. So, for example, the Basilisk Ultimate could get up to 100 hours and the V3 Pro manages 90, so it's worth bearing in mind. Also, another difference here, which is quite subtle, on the side, you'll see that there's a button at the front, which is a sniper button, essentially. It drops into a lower DPI. You can obviously assign it to something else. It's a clutch pedal on the Basilisk Ultimate. So there's this little flappy thing that you could attach and detach to the Basilisk Ultimate on your will. So you can see that you could just blank it out with the included rubber sort of cover, or you could pop it into place. Now, I really like this on the Basilisk Ultimate because it was a little bit longer. It sat a little bit further back. And because it was like a paddle, you could basically push it in and it gives you a bit more of an interesting flappy response from it. Now they've reverted back to a button and you can't really swap between them. So both quite nice for different reasons. I think that I probably prefer the Basilisk Ultimate in some ways, but the V3 Pro is a really interesting upgrade with some nice features. Be sure to check out the links to the reviews in the description to see more about these. And now stick around for a sound test to hear the differences. You've made it right to the end of the video, you brilliant legend you. If you've enjoyed it, click that subscribe button, give me a thumbs up, and drop me a comment down below if you've got any questions. If you really enjoyed it, consider joining the channel and see the benefits of doing so. Check out these other videos, you might well find them interesting or useful, and most importantly, have a great life.